You got fall sports narrowing down, winter sports are being hyped up thanks to all the Twitter promo videos. So what do we got? A whole lot of sports. Stick around for this week's breakdown of it all. So we're set up for some great debates tonight, plus a new segment coming on later in the show, so I'm all for it. Guys, are you ready to fire it up?
Katie, I am more than ready to fire it up. Me and Chris Stacy are going to have a good debate tonight. You mentioned it, fall sports, winter sports. There's a lot going on. I can't wait to get started.
What he said.
All right, guys, so let's get to it. There's been a lot of talk around the men's ice hockey team from their 3-0 start this year, and yesterday the U.S. CHO polls came out. Quinnipiac took the very end of the poll at the 20th spot. So Tom, I'll ask you first. Do you agree that this team should be ranked?
Yeah, so I do agree this team should be nationally ranked. I wasn't sure at first because Quinnipiac's off to a good start, but how's the competition doing? And Quinnipiac, let's talk about them first. They're 3-0, and they're not just beating scrubs. Vermont's not bad. UConn's probably the worst team they faced. They beat them pretty handily. And BC, number 18 at home, they shut them out. That was a statement win for Quinnipiac already. The team's hot. They have some swagger after a tough season last year. They desperately needed a fast start, and they got it. So Quinnipiac's having a good start. But let's look at the competition. The two Boston schools are probably their toughest test, Boston College and Boston University. So for BC, they're 0-3, and Quinnipiac beat them. So they probably don't deserve a spot. Quinnipiac arguably took theirs. And then as for BU was number 8 just 2 weeks ago. And since then, they're 0-3. They lost twice to a good team, Minnesota, and they just lost a game to Merrimack, who has not had a winning season since 2012. They got shut out in that game, 4-0. It's an embarrassing loss. What I'm getting at is these teams dropped out. Quinnipiac earned that spot. They took that spot. And out of the other contenders for the spots, Quinnipiac was the best team.
The thing I look at, Tom, is these are 3 Hockey East schools, and a lot of people you hear out there in the college hockey world will say that Hockey East is a better conference than the ECAC. So I look Quinnipiac defending the home ice and defending that ECAC is a conference to be reckoned with. And like I said, they deserve it. They, like the USCHO.com poll said, number 20 and 3-0 start couldn't be any better for the Bobcats.
It's tough to take a 3-0 team out, you know, of the poll early on, especially when they beat a ranked team. And look at the other contenders. Colorado College got a lot of votes, but because they're 4-1-1, they've had a weak competition so far. It's going to get tougher against St. Cloud and Minnesota Duluth. And Clarkson, they've been up and down. They beat a good Wisconsin team, but lost to Penn State. They're not there yet.
Strength of schedule it helped the Bobcats out really a lot.
They won the big game, and they won the other games too.
Exactly.
They've checked off all the marks so far.
Guys, no doubt about the force of this team this year. And Tom, I'll go back to you, the hockey guru, for this one. What's different about the team this season?
Yes, there's a couple of things, Katie, that's different about this team, both measurable and intangible. And with measurables here, the problem last year wasn't offense. They led the conference in shots, 4th in goals. That wasn't the issue. They were worst in the conference in goals against save percentage at 89.8%. That's just not acceptable for a team. Keith Petrozelli has come in and stole the spot. They say in sports, goalies are like quarterbacks. If you have 2 of them, you really have none. You have to have that one guy that's leading the way. Petrozelli has ran with it. He's looked worlds better in his puck tracking, rebound control, and confidence. Beating BC at home, shutting them out for his first career shutout, it doesn't get much better than that. And his defense is helping him out as well. His defense has blocked at least 12 shots every game. They're giving him a clear crease and vision. And really, all in all, the defense and goaltending is why this team looks better so far. The offense is going to score goals, but they're keeping pucks out of the net.
No, what I would say is if you were to ask Rand Peckham that, what would you think he said?
He would say the defense has to be the guy for this team and that they bought into the culture.
And they're playing
BC?
They're playing Quinnipiac hockey.
Quinnipiac hockey, there it is.
Another thing I look at is there's the freshmen on this team. They've stepped up big time. And Rand Pecknold's even said that he's trusts this new freshman class more than he's trust past freshman classes. And you look at it, you have Peter Dillabatore, he has plus-minus of 3, and then you also have William Fulstrom, a plus-minus of +3 as well. And you have these guys, and Rand Pecknold said he was the best defensive center William Fulstrom was in that BC game. So you see these freshmen, they're also upbeat play, they're playing faster, which is going to take pressure off of Keith Petruzzelli. And like you said, allow him to get his first career shutout against BC, and that's only going to build his confidence going forward and show why the Red Wings spent a high draft or like a high round draft pick on him. Exactly.
Yeah, he hadn't even played a college game yet at that point.
Exactly.
And the big thing for me is culture. Rand Pecknold and the players love to talk about culture and identity.
That Quinnipiac hockey. Right?
Quinnipiac hockey. They've spoken extensively about it, and Prisky, fairly unsolicited in an interview, said, and I'm going to quote it here, that guys who don't fit the team's standard of excellence aren't going to play. That's a very bold statement for a team that had a lot of guys last year who were kicked off the team or they left the team, whatever happened. This year, they really want to put last year behind them, they want to move forward, and they want to reestablish the old identity and move forward with it.
I couldn't say it better myself. That was a very strong statement that he said out there. I was kind of shocked when I heard that on Twitter the other day.
So from what it sounds like, team's looking good. But who do you guys want to see more from? Maybe someone that could make or break the season. Chris, who do you have in mind?
First guy that came to mind is Nick Germain. He had no points this season, only a plus-minus of +1. He needs to step up big time. I don't say it's more of a leadership. It's more of a performance on the ice. And another one that comes to mind is Alex Whalen. He's got 2 assists on the season so far. Not bad, but you kind of want more out of these 2 juniors. They're guys that you expect coming into the season that would lead the team, but the freshmen have come in here and kind of almost made it brought a new attitude onto this team with that upbeat play and kind of shock these upperclassmen, but they definitely do need to step up for this Quinnipiac Bobcats team, especially down the road when you get into ECAC play, because that experience is going to be very important going down the road.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on Whalen. He was really only their true sniper last year. He only has 5 shots through 3 games. He needs more than that. And he doesn't have a goal yet. And he was invisible against BC. He really didn't show up at all. That was a big game. They won it anyway, but they're going to need him moving forward. And if you want to look at this question in a positive light, who do they need to see? Who do we want to see more from? I want to see more from Fulstrom and Wyatt Bongiovanni. You mentioned Fulstrom. They said he was the best defensive center. This guy's only played 3 games so far. It's really impressive to hear that from Pecknold. He also has a scoring touch, too. 2 goals already. As for Bongiovanni, he's a power forward. He's got some size. He's getting into the greasy, gritty areas in front of the net. And that's an element that sometimes is missing from a team in terms of culture, identity, And Bongiovanni has that grit and the intensity, and he's getting in front of the net. He's shooting. He's second among forwards in shots. Bongiovanni, to me, has stood out.
If we're going to go positive, I'm going to say quickly is Keith Petruzzelli. I want to see how he builds off his first career shutout, especially against a big Hockey East team like BC.
Guys, you'll definitely hear some of those freshman names like you mentioned, but that'll do it for hockey. The team is away on Friday and home on Saturday, both against AIC. We'll take it to men's soccer now. The team goes to Marist for one of their last 3 conference games. The teams are tied for 2nd place. So, Chris, who do you have winning this game?
I have Quinnipiac winning this game, coming off a big tie against first place Fairfield. I think they're going to get up for this game against Marist. They're tied for 2nd with this team. I think Chris Yakovidis is going to be in net. He's going to bring a new attitude to this team, some upperclassmen leadership to this team that they really need, and that he's shown the last 2 games. He's played in these big-time games. We'll talk about him a little bit more later, but you want your best in the net right now, and I think he's the answer. And Quinnipiac will get up for this game. They also lead in a lot of statistical categories. They have more goals on the season, so that means they have more goals per game. They have more assists than Marist. Marist has a little bit more goals allowed on the season, and Quinnipiac has more saves on the year. Granted, that was with the other goalie, not Chris Yakovidis, but I think Quinnipiac is going to go up to Marist. It's going to be a close game, might go into overtime, but I think they're going to pull this one out at the end. I mean, don't sleep on Eamon Whalen late in games.
Yeah, this is a huge game for conference seeding. These teams have the same record; they're tied for 2nd and 3rd, respectively. But I just don't know if Quinnipiac can keep up this heroic stretch of winning all these games. You mentioned Eamon Whalen; he's had all these overtime game winners. I feel like they're just due for one of these balls isn't going to end up in the back of the net. Marist is a better defensive team than Quinnipiac. Quinnipiac has the offensive edge. I like to go with the defensive team in those games. Quinnipiac only has 2 road wins. Marist at home. I'm going to take Marist in this one. I agree it's going to be a close game. I think Marist takes it because they're a little more sound defensively, but it should be a good game no matter what.
I'm excited to watch.
Like you saw there, their record 5-1-1. it could lead them to the championship, and we've seen a lot from sophomore goalie Jared Mazzola. But head coach Eric DeCosta had Chris Yakovitis out on the field in their last 2 games. Changing things up so close to the postseason. Tom, would you have done the same thing if you were coach?
So we don't know what's going on as far as possible injuries are concerned, but assuming full health, I have no idea what Eric DeCosta was thinking with this move. Jared Mazzola had started 9 straight games, including all of the previous MAC games. He went 6-3 over that stretch, which is the Bobcats' best stretch of the season. He leads the MAC in save percentage, 3rd in goals against. Yakovitis hadn't played in a month and a half. He's just getting rusty on the bench, removed from game action. And lately, Yakovitis, he hasn't been as good. Mazzola has been firing on all cylinders. Why would you want to shake this up heading into some crucial games of the year? I just don't get it.
I mean, the last 2 games Yakovitis has played, he's played pretty steadily. He's played very great games. He also, I look at the experience factor here. Yakovitis 2 years ago, he was in the MAC championship as a freshman here right before they opened up. So it was the old grass field, the rugby field it is now. And then last season, a tough semi-final loss to Fairfield, and if it wasn't for James Doig missing a PK, who knows what would have happened. Yakovitis played amazingly that game. I think you go with the experience here. You have that familiarity of the moment. This is a huge game against Marist, like we said, tied for 2nd place. I think Yakovitis will fit in nicely. He's got the experience.
Tell me this, if this is such a huge game, why wouldn't you go with the goalie who's been winning you games before this? They're 6-3 when he's in net.
Yakovitis has won this team games last time.
What has he done for me lately? What has he done for me lately? He's won 2-2 in his 5 starts.
You can't deny bringing a team on your as a freshman to the MAC championship.
What kind of message does this send to Jared Mazzola if he's being benched after taking them to 6 wins this year in his 9 tries? The best stretch of Quinnipiac men's soccer has been when he's between the pipes. What message does that send? They're going to sit him for the biggest games? I don't get it.
I mean, that's the senior leadership right there. You're
going to ride Mazzola all year.
The last 2 games, but Mazzola has sat the last 2 games. So right now, he doesn't have the hot hand. He's not played the last 2 games.
But he didn't deserve to be sat. I just don't get it. He had everything.
I never said he didn't deserve to be. He didn't deserve to be benched. But he hasn't played the last 2 games. Yakovitis has been in there. He's won the last 2 games. He deserves to be playing at Marist.
Yakovitis hadn't played in over a month and a half. He
played the last 2 games.
He was the forgotten man. He shouldn't have played those last 2 games.
But he won the last 2 games.
He won one of them. The other one was a tie.
Guys, maybe it's for well-roundedness of the team. Who knows what's going on? But for now, think about what you would do if you were a coach while we take a quick break. When we come back, the guys will rate the likelihood of Fall Sports winning a playoff game.
If you like debate, that's a converted relief pitcher making the start because it was a doubleheader. You got no hit by a relief pitcher. You can't tell me that's not embarrassing.
Analysis.
You can see his stance, his positioning right there is excellent.
And a side of entertainment.
Is he right or is he crazy?
Well, we all know the answer to that. He's a bit crazy, but I gotta say,
Then join us on Bobcat Breakdown.
From the court to the ice to here on the diamond, we'll discuss everything you need to know about Quinnipiac athletics.
Bobcat Breakdown, Tuesdays at 9:30.
Welcome to the WQAQ Morning Show. Dan Ball and Emma Spagnolo joining you here from the QAQ studios in Hamden. And Emma, it is that time of year again.
Oh, you're back for another segment. Good, because we've got women's soccer. And this conference is just a monopoly. There's one team that dominates every year. You guessed it, Monmouth. But Quinnipiac started off this season really well, leading up to their game against Monmouth, which was a 4-1 loss. So, Tom, would you say this game was the turning point for the team?
I would even go before that. Apparently, it was when me and Kyle Lavasser went on the desk 3 weeks ago and said that this team had a chance to win its first MAC title in its history. And right after that, they lost to St. Peter's, a team that only had 2 wins on the year up to that point. That's their 3rd win, their first road win. That Quinnipiac got shut out at home by a bad team. That was the beginning of the end for them. They got embarrassed by Monmouth, as you mentioned, and they've been caught up by their coach since then as well. This team is a bit of a tailspin right now, and I think it all started when me and Kyle got a little overconfident and said this team was, due for some success, because since then, they just have not been rolling. I think it all started with the St. Peter's game. That loss just can't happen at home to a bad team.
I agree with you that it starts with the St. Peter's game, but Triglione did get hurt the game before, so that did affect the team. But I'm not going to cut them any slack right now because I'm going to pull out the stats right now. Home loss to St. Peter's, 13 shots, 1-0 loss. Road loss to Monmouth, again, very tough team, first place in the MAC, good year in, year out. 15 shots, 4-1 loss. Home tie to Canisius, 1-1 tie. 28 shots. Road loss to Ryder, 2-1, 8 shots on goal. Little tough performance there. And then home tie to Marist, 21 shots again. This team has just been having trouble putting the ball in the net. And the turning point is that St. Peter's game. They were 3-0-1 before that. And I don't know, this team just kind of derailed after that.
Yeah. You can talk all you want about shots. What's their record in those games? They have not won in their last 6 games.
They haven't won since September.
Yeah, they have not won. It's been a
insane.
6-game loss with streak. It's St. Peter's only road win. Quinnipiac had all of the momentum going into that game. They were second in the conference. That was the beginning of the end.
Tough.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see, but that tournament starts this Sunday. So the rugby team last played an out-of-conference game with Penn State, lost just by 4, and the game before that, they won. But the game before that, they lost. So, I mean, this team sounds pretty unpredictable. Chris, is it too late for the team to find consistency going into the NIRA tournament?
It's tough to say this about this team after they won so many championships, but I would have to say yes, it is a little bit too late. You're missing a lot of key players from last season, especially Lona Mar. In one game, it's just not enough time to get consistency for this tournament. You have a lot of new players who might not be used to playing in playoff atmosphere. I just think it's too little too late for this Bobcats team going into the playoffs, especially with the season they had. It's been a lot of ups and downs, like you said, Katie, so a little bit too late in my opinion.
Well, I'm going to argue that they already have found their consistency because you can't just look at the box scores when evaluating this team. They have a lot of different layers when it comes to producing points. Mika Maples and Emily Roskoff have 15 combined tries in 7 games. That's really impressive. That's world class. Clara Lamal Brown and McKenna Haas have 6 in their last 2 games and 8 on the year combined. That's a good mix of veteran leadership and young talent. They've been playing better rugby over these games too. At least 20 points in every game but their season opening loss, and 30 in 3 of the last 5. The defense has improved. They're getting scoring from all players. I think they're starting to play better rugby. They're just not getting the wins, and they do have to finish it out and get those wins.
That's what you're going to need to get the wins if you want to advance in the playoffs.
They're playing well. They probably have the best coach in all fall sports, with Becky Carlson, and that's not a slight on anybody else. But I just think
they're playing well, but they have to win, and they have to.
I think they're going to get that win moving forward. They'll get a nice confidence booster with Army moving forward.
All right, Tom. Sorry, but I'm going to have to agree with Chris. But now we'll touch on volleyball real quick. This year, every team in the conference makes the tournament. So the girls will fly to Florida, see how far they can get. But with this guarantee into the tournament, how do you guys think that will affect the rest of their regular season play?
Yeah, so Quinnipiac could coast its way into the MAC tournament, but I think that would be a big, big mistake. You want to talk about finishing games? They had a chance against Fairfield 3 weeks ago to beat the #1 seed, and they couldn't finish it out up 2-0. That was a bit worrisome. Fairfield has declined since then. They've lost 4 out of 5 in their conference. Quinnipiac now has a chance at home later this week to face Fairfield again. That's a big game for them, another date with Fairfield. And Quinnipiac's going to enter the MAC tournament as an underdog. They're only going to win playoff games if they pull off some upsets. This could be a big confidence booster if they pull it off. They have to play hard. They have to want to play these games and treat them as playoff previews because they're going to face an elite team in Florida.
The last teams that the last couple games they're playing, all the teams they're playing, except for Siena, who is 0-12, rough year up in New York right now, but are all above them in the standing. It's going to be tough going in. I mean, why not try to evaluate some of your players, in my opinion? See what you got on the bench, see what you got for the future.
It's never a good idea to coast into the playoffs. You got to go in on a hot note.
Especially when you only have 4 wins. They're going to be sitting in the 6 and 7 game. So if they move up to 6, they're still going to be playing the same team if they go past one team. So I don't really see the positive as to trying to move ahead in the standings because you're not going to move that far. Even you're playing good competition these last couple games.
You're not going to be able to tell these players not to play to win. It's just not.
You don't have to tell them that.
Yeah. You said you got to evaluate the young players. They got to play to win. They're playing teams that they could be facing in the playoffs.
Who says these young players are not going to play to win? They're not going to play to lose.
All right, guys. So those are all your fall sports. Great debate there. You got men's and women's soccer, rugby, and volleyball all entering playoffs soon. So let's see what the likelihood of each team winning a playoff is. Time to break out the whiteboards. You guys have 1 through 10. Rate the teams, 10 being the most likely, 1 being the least. Tell me what you guys got for men's soccer winning a playoff game.
All right.
They got good records. I'm excited to see what you guys got.
All right, Chris, go first.
I'm going to say 8 out of 10 right now. I know we just did talk about a little bit of the goalie controversy, I guess you can call it, if you want to call that a controversy. I know we throw that a lot around here at Q30 with the men's ice hockey team last year, but if you want to call it a controversy, that could end up affecting the team down the stretch, but I still think they have a very strong chance of winning a playoff game. They've been one of the most successful fall sports teams, if not the most successful fall sports team.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm going to go a little gutsy. We're going to go with 10 out of 10.
Okay.
Quinnipiac is going to be a 1 or a 2 seed in this, or probably a 2 or a 3 seed in this tournament. They're going to get a nice game that's winnable on home field. And I think they're going to win that first round. I'm not sure what happens from there on out, but they're going to win round 1 for sure.
Okay.
All right, so high chances for men's soccer, but now women's soccer, this should be good. There's been a lot of controversy, them being on the fence, not knowing if they're even going to make the playoffs, but what numbers do you guys have?
Go for it, Tom.
Chris having a hard time with the eraser there. So I'm going to go with rugby here as a 7 because I think that they're playing really good rugby right now, as I just mentioned, and they're going to be a middle-of-the-pack team when it comes to seeding. They're going to get a team that, if Quinnipiac comes in hot, like I think they could be with that win over Army, I think they could really have a chance to make some noise as a middle-of-the-pack team. It's a favorable matchup. And then we'll see what happens in the tougher competitions when they have to pull off the upset. But round 1, I think they can get at least 1 win. I'm pretty confident.
Wait, are we talking about women's soccer or rugby? Rugby? Or? I thought, all right.
I went out of order.
We'll do rugby. All
right, so if we're talking about rugby, I also had a 7. I just can't count out this team, especially what they've done in the past. So I know I said they really wouldn't get consistency, but I think I don't know, playoffs, it's a different monster out there, so I would have to give them a 7.
All right, rugby looking a little shaky. Now let's go back to women's soccer. Tom, tell me, who do you have for women's soccer?
Redemption tour here. I'm going to get it right this time.
All right,
women's
take your
soccer,
time.
I got it here. They're going to get a 4 out of 10 from me. Like I said, I think everything's going wrong for this team right now. They're not scoring. They're not winning. Their goaltending hasn't been as good. They lost all their confidence, I think, after the St. Peter's game. They're going to be the 6th seed, so they're going to face Siena or Niagara, who are kind of toss-up games for them. They've been up and down against them this year. It's really wishy-washy. It's just a little below average.
Just told they could be the 5 seed as well, and I'm also going to give them a 5. Like you said, toss-up games, I see it's like a 50-50. They have been getting the shots on goal, so maybe if they net a few of those, they'll get that win. But I don't know, it's tough.
It is tough. That's definitely the big question for this fall season. And for more on that, you can check out MJ Baird's postseason possibilities on his Twitter at MJBaird_17. But we have one more break, and later we'll have some looks on the men's basketball team and which Bobcat has the clutch gene. Stick around.
Welcome to the WQAQ Morning Show. Dan Ball and Emma Spagnolo joining you here from the QAQ studios in Hamden. And Emma, it is that time of year again.
Just kidding, only from debate, don't worry. But I think we've been in the studio a little too long. Let's take it to the classroom with Patrick Flatley in what we call Textbook Tuesdays.
Thanks, Katie. We're in the classroom today because we have a lot of great textbook plays this week. We're going to kick it off with men's soccer and their 2-1 win over Ryder. Men's soccer taking on Ryder at home. The Bobcats would go on to defeat Ryder 2-1. Rashad Daly with the textbook assist to Eamon Whalen. Whalen has 9 goals on the year and would score his 10th with 26 seconds left to give QU a 2-1 win. Send them in a tie for second place in the MAC. But let's take a look at this one again here. Just a textbook flick from Daly. Used his athleticism to head the ball into the path of Whalen. Here's the cross that Daly passes perfectly, and it's a brave finish from Eamon Whalen to tie the game at 1. Just a textbook play from both forwards here. A great textbook play there, but let's take it to the ice now. Men's hockey against number 18, Boston College. Great 5-on-3 goal here from Chase Prisky, but let's get into it. Unranked Quinnipiac going against number 18, Boston College here. Quinnipiac with the 5-on-3 power play. It's Chase Prisky who buries it. His first power play goal of the year, his 11th in the past 3 seasons. Quinnipiac eventually wins this game 1-0. This is the game winner, and we'll take a look at this one again. Great puck movement here as Prisky passes it down low. Look at all this open space in the middle here. Look how low that Boston College defender goes. Perfect spot to get it back up top to Prisky. And watch this shot with traffic in front. Prisky rips the shot, it goes in. Quinnipiac wins this game 1-0. After the polls come out, they are ranked number 20 after being unranked. Two great textbook plays there from both men's soccer and men's hockey. This has been Textbook Tuesdays from the classroom. I'm Patrick Flatley. Back to you, Katie.
Great stuff, Patrick. Tonight on ENPS Plus, the MAC announced its men's and women's preseason coaches poll. The women's teams got out the obvious #1 spot, so let's focus on the men's team since they tied in 3rd with reigning MAC tournament champions, Iona. Chris, do you agree where the coaches voted Quinnipiac?
I completely agree. You have Baker Dunleavy coming back for his 2nd season after leading his team to the semifinals last year. You have Cam Young coming back. You have Jacob Rugoni coming back. You have Rich Kelly coming back. You also have 4 new freshmen coming back. You have Kevin Marfo coming back off his transfer year. And you have Travis Adson. Things are looking up for this team.
Yeah, look at the competition as well. Ryder's clearly the best. Iona's always near the top. You know, Niagara lost a lot of seniors. They dropped. Canisius still good. Quinnipiac, out of the other teams that were in the middle, they have the best potential. You just outlined why. I think a solid 3, 4, 5, they nailed it.
All right, I'll say too, last season they were voted 11th, so the jump to 3rd spot, pretty impressive for the team. But no more debate because it's time for Final Roars. Chris, you're up.
Past couple weeks, I've been talking to the new basketball players on the Quinnipiac men's basketball team. Both Tyree Picron and Matthew Belenk both said, on top of head coach Baker Dunleavy drawing them to the school, that it was the players that sold them on Quinnipiac. Belenk said it was the Robinson twins that were instrumental on him choosing to come to Hamden. And for Picron, he told me that it was Rich Kelly who got him to commit to the Bobcats. So what I'm trying to say here is everyone looks at coaches for being the best recruiters, but it takes the current roster to sell the potential recruits on the school. And Quinnipiac has been successful with that so far in the Baker Dunleavy era.
How a team starts its year can oftentimes set the tone for how the whole year is going to go. However, I don't see that as the case for the Quinnipiac women's ice hockey team. Although they are 0-4-2, the signs are there for this team to make a turnaround. The recent bye week could not have come at a better time for the Bobcats, who will spend this weekend at home against Brown and Yale. This kicks off ECAC hockey play, which is just the spark this team needs. Some of the weakest teams in the conference are coming to town these next 2 weeks, and Quinnipiac will look to take advantage. I'm not a betting man, but I'd lock in. But by the time we leave for Thanksgiving break, Quinnipiac will have won 3 of its first 4 conference games. Week competition coming up, a bye week to tinker with things, and some home cooking. We'll have the Bobcats back on track before long.
Why are sports so exciting? What is it about a team that keeps us coming back? And why is so much time spent following, fantasizing, and debating sports? Well, I think sports might be one of the best part of our lives when everything else has gone crazy. It's safe to say that we all played at least one sport at some point or another in our lives. But only some of us actually continued in high school. Fewer of us took it to college, and the fewest of few made the professionals. We become connected to teams, we relate to certain players, and sometimes it's just the team's home city that will get us fired up. Sports are competitive, and debating sports brings the competition to another level. At the end of the day, sports are our breakaway from the madness that is everyday life. And that wraps up the show. It wouldn't be possible without the producers, everyone behind the scenes, and these guys at the desk. And if you missed anything, we have it all on our Twitter at Q30 Sports. Remember, bigger shows coming up with actual playoffs happening. See you next week.